All right, all right, all right. How are you this evening or this afternoon? I'm all over the place. I'm just getting my swag back. I was down and out last week, Arch.
I am good. I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing. All is well. Everything is going great. I am finally getting back in the swing of things. So everything is well. Everything is well.
Well, wonderful. That is good to know, and thank God that you are back in the swing of things.
Yes, 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 yes. I am definitely back, excited. Coming back to where we left off at and trying to get our thing to make sure that we have it going.
Did we tell everyone to like, share?
Hey, you guys, how is everybody on this Tuesday? We are coming live from KGM Kingdom Global Media. Go ahead and like and share if you are on, if you are jumping on. Y'all know we had a great time last week. We got some stuff to talk about on today. I'm excited. My name is Chantel Long, and I have my counterpart here with me, Mr. Amazing, infamous Arch Devin Archbishop, I'm sorry, I'm skipping. Archbishop Devin Owens, the great. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing good, and I'm just looking at those who are coming in, and I'm waiting to make the announcement for the date for the shoot your shot. So we'll wait for a few more people to come in since we are on Facebook. How's the weather there in where you are?
I am in Florida and it is amazing. It's hot, hot as ever, still hot, very, very, very hot. So we're waiting to get a little cool down, but it is definitely hot. It is a hot one.
All right, awesome, very good. What other news from the weekend you got to share with us?
Oh, what did I do over the weekend? I'm trying to make sure that we are sharing on all platforms. Hold on one second. Um, Over the weekend, I didn't do anything. I just regrouped, hung out, had an amazing time with the children, and that was all for me. How was your weekend, sir?
It was wonderful. Church, family, wife, all that good stuff. It was very good. Yeah, it was very good. What platforms are we live on today?
We are currently live on our global media, and we are getting ready to be live on my page. Just making sure that we have it together.
And I believe we are coming up on our one of the last episodes, or if not the last, maybe God will grace the people of us going live on Facebook. So everybody needs to go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe in order to follow us.
Yes, go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe. We will add the link. Some people went over there, so I know you guys were able to find it. But Kingdom Global Media on YouTube, and go ahead and find us. Go ahead and subscribe because next week we will be live on YouTube. I'm excited. How do you feel about that? Advancing up, next level.
I feel good about it. Leveling up. I feel good about it.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. All right. Well, I think we are public. I think we are live on all platforms now.
We're
So
live on all platforms.
yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Let me ensure. All right, we are
We're,
live.
we're live. All right.
Yes.
Tell the team to make sure they cut just this part and we will repackage it. And let's go. 3, 2, 1. Are you a man 6'1" or taller, a job of six figures? Are you looking to get married? Are you looking for a woman that is single, nice, a woman that will cook for you, treat you right? Well, we want you to join us sometime or another in the month of October for Shoot Your Shot with Chantel. We will give more information concerning that. Uh, all right.
All righty then. So that has been the going that's been the going joke. I want to make sure everybody knows that's been the going joke within my family and friends, and everybody's waiting for shoot your shot with Chantel. But yeah, I don't know how to respond to that. Go find the Lord and he will make sure that you can shoot your shot. But anyhow, Arch has so many jokes. But while we're talking about shoot your shot, and we've been talking about singleness and marriage, and we've been talking about all these great things. And I know in our last feed we kind of ended the platform with having parent trauma, and how some men may have issues with their mom, and they begin to put it off in their relationships, or aim it towards women. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
So my question for today is it right for a man to expect his wife or his significant other to be like his mother?
I guess I would, because I'm inquisitive, I would ask you a question. Is it wrong?
I definitely would say I think it's wrong. I feel like times are different, and it's wrong. It's wrong to hi Christina. It's wrong to make someone feel that they should carry the weight of someone from back in the day. To me, times have changed. Times are definitely different from then and now.
So you think it's wrong to put those expectations on a girlfriend, fiance, wife, partner, to say, hey, I want you to be like my mother?
Yeah. Now, if you see that within her, if she's already carrying those traits, cool. But to want her to change and become or be like your mother, definitely, 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 I definitely feel like that's wrong.
So an old school player once told, he
No.
probably was a pimp. I probably wasn't even a player. Old school, the guys from the old school, OGs, we used to call them. They say there's nothing wrong with copying the cat as long as you're copying the right cat.
Okay. Okay.
So, that's that old school slang. Ain't nothing wrong with copying. This is the whole copycat thing. So they say ain't nothing wrong with copying the cat as long as you're copying the right cat. So my thing would be, if the mother is the epitome of a virtuous woman, and the mother is someone who has set standards, I think that might be a good thing to tell that woman, because in essence, what is a mentor? A mentor is someone who gives you the tools that you won't have to make the mistakes that they have made, because they have the foresight and the insight to be able to say, hey, I did this way, that way, the other way. So if we're cookie cutting everything and just putting everything kind of in a cookie cutting thought, I think if the mother is good and not cuckoo, and the girlfriend, the wife, the fiance is good and not cuckoo, and everything is not, there's no mental breakdowns, I think it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you should be more like my mother. Because I think one thing that I shared with you backstage was, Prophetess Teresa Walker, good afternoon. One thing that I shared with you backstage was that if I have a daughter, a biological daughter, I'm going to want my daughter to date a man like me, a man that has provided, a man that has opened up doors for her, a man that has told her that she's beautiful, a man that has not abused her. And so, again, I think what's wrong with it? What would be wrong for my daughter to put those type of expectations upon a man to say, hey, my dad ain't a bum. My dad carry his weight. My dad has done XYZ for my mother. So then, therefore, that's the type of man that I should have.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So let me address both cases. And sorry, still trying to get the technology together with it being live on both. But that's a great point, and this is how I want to respond. So first, I want to go to when you said copy the right cat. And so that's a great point. We do want to copy the right cat.
No, you gotta say it like the OG said it.
What is how the OG say
it? Ain't nothing wrong with copying the cat as long as it's the right cat.
Ain't nothing wrong with copying the cat as long
no,
as
ain't nothing wrong with copying. Now you don't got ain't nothing wrong with copying the cat as long as it's the right cat.
Right. Ain't nothing wrong with copying the cat as long as it's the right cat.
You sound too corny and corporate. Right. There's no OG anointing right there. But all right, go ahead. Yes. All right.
So like I was saying, like I was stating, but when you're copying the right cat, that's still a personal reference. So if I was to copy the right cat, or that was my mentor, I'm copying my mentor, that was a personal decision, as opposed to you telling me to copy that person. You know, that's different for telling me to copy your mom. Even if she's a virtuous woman, she may be an amazing woman, but she's still not the woman that I am, or the woman that I might supposed to become. She might be, she might not. That's personal. But let's go into the second point that you made, which was really a great point. The second point that you made was amazing, because it's almost like a what is it, a double-sided perspective, you know, because you're right. I definitely would want my husband to be the example of what my daughter should date, right? But I definitely feel that times have changed, and I feel like they've changed more or less for the woman than they have for the man. So the man has always been the provider. The man has always been the protector. The man has always been that safe place for the woman, right? So back in the day, you had the man playing that role. Now, these times, women are not playing the role of being in a house, staying home. They're actually being the one bringing in the 50-50. So they're going out working the same amount of time that their husband or their mate is working, and then they have to come in and do all the domestic things. I feel like if we're going to be 50-50 in the workplace, we need to be 50-50 at home. So we need to carry our weight in both places. But some people, because they've seen their mom be at home and take care of 100% of the household stuff, they're now expecting their wife or their significant other to take care of the household stuff 100% and still go out and do 50% in the field.
You saying the man is?
The woman is still doing 50% in the field and doing 100% at home. The woman.
Absolutely.
But I feel like
is that a bad thing?
I definitely think that's a double standard. And because my thing is, if we want to go to back in the day, then I should be at home 100% then. I should be able to carry the weight of 100% as though the women did back in the day.
So let me tell you something that blessed my life many years ago. With, you know, with these wisdom nuggets, something that blessed my life. And in fact, my two sons' aunt said this. She says, if me and my husband want to live the life that we live, which is a very comfortable life, both of us have to make it happen. We have to both have these type of jobs. They had government jobs. We both have to have these type of jobs in order to drive the cars we want, to live in the house. So that question becomes a matter of preference. The preference being, I never forget that. That's just 2004. Now, maybe his income could have got them in a nice house, maybe a nice and a 1.5 type of car. I mean, they were living very good.
Yes.
But I think with aspiring expectations changes the conversation to, well, maybe both of us should go out. But I also don't think that should change the expectation of what you're expecting from that woman, that she should still be able to cook. She should still be able to watch the kids. She should still be able to do. Now, again, I know some men are domesticated. Whatever. I know some men can cook, and that's cool because I have uncles that can throw down. But I think at the end of the day, you know, I think that woman should still be responsible for making sure that the house is clean, making sure that the food is cooked, making sure that I don't think that it should be a chart to say, okay, because, you know, I'm working and you working too, let's split the cooking. If that works, that's fine, but that wouldn't work for me.
So she's now bringing it. So that's why some women are breaking down mentally. Nobody knows, because now she's doing 150% of the day-to-day activities. And I'm talking about, you got to think about women. You got to think about women that still have 2, 3 year olds. I'm talking about 3, 4 year olds. I'm talking about when the children are still. We're not talking about women that's up and yes, I done. I'm talking about women that's up there in they have a 2 or 3 year old, a 4 year old, a 5 year old, and they have the significant other, and they're working and they're doing everything. So when he get home, they both get home. She goes straight to tending to the kids, and he just be like, okay, whatever.
I don't think he'd be like, yeah, whatever, but I think that innately she should do that. I think innately she should do that. I think, again, I don't think her responsibility should be shifted.
I don't think it should be shifted, but I definitely feel like there should be a support. So let's say, and y'all know I'm in childcare, and I have a lot of parents, a lot of women, and they come in the centers and they like, oh, I got a husband, but he don't do none of that. I got a husband, but he just there. He wanted the kids, but she burnt out. She tired. She venting how she feels. She coming in the center like, I'm about to pull every last bit of my hair out. And then he's like, well, she tired. And, when it's time for us to be intimate, she don't want to, but not realizing the stress of everything she's done, not realizing that intimacy would be, for her, would be, let me go ahead and vacuum the floor. My intimacy would be looking at my husband caring for the kids to say, let me give you a break and you go over here. That's intimacy with me. That looks attractive to me. And I'm not saying he has to take on full throttle household chores, but giving that woman that leverage to say, you know what, I know you tired. I got the food today. I'm gonna cook today, or I'm gonna make sure we got a hot meal in the kids, and I've already done their homework. So on today, I just feel like there has to be, because we're and I feel like I get your point. We're the ones that we love to be caretakers. We love to take care of everybody, our spouse and our children, and we keep going. We're taking care of the people at work, and then, but where does the ball start? Where we finally say, okay, let me give her a minute.
Again, I think it stops and starts with the conversation of that couple. Again, I don't think that we can cookie cut everything, but I do think that we need. I see what Angela's saying. I do think that the woman responsibility should not be shifted. I don't cook. I don't cook. I don't ever cook. I cannot.
I ain't never gonna cook, right?
I cannot cook, but my wife cooks, and she's a wonderful cook. So, now again, as a man, yeah, I can take her out to eat, or we can go eat at whatever restaurant we want to. But then there's just sometimes the truth of the matter, we might both be getting off the road or whatever the case may be. But she's not going to neglect her responsibility to say, hey, do you want me to cook something?
But a lot of women don't neglect their responsibility, but they didn't vent it to everybody else. They burnt out. They telling everybody but you the problem that they really have. You know what I'm saying? And then the man like, well, what happened? I don't even know what happened.
So guess what? Neglect is neglect. She's neglecting her responsibility.
But can we say that the man is neglecting his responsibilities, that he should be able to give them that bigger house? If your eyes want a bigger house than what your finances can afford, then without the woman being responsible. Now, if the woman wants to go out and say, I want to work, or I want to work part-time, like I have a young lady, and she like, hey, I'm here, but I really don't have to be here, so y'all don't try me. That's a good opportunity to be in, because, and I was talking to a woman the other day, she said, I would love to be a housewife. I would say most of us, I see Angela, she going in old school here, old school is here. But at the end of the day, if we had to choose, do I want to be a housewife or do I want to work? Some of us is going to say, I'd rather just work. Let me just work. But we don't have that luxury to say that.
But you have to be both.
Why can't just be like back in the day and just be at home and just be 100%?
Well, remember I told you the wisdom of that conversation I heard years ago. That if what you're aspiring to is XYZ, again, if that couple is aspiring just to live where they live in a nice home, maybe the man's salary can cover that. But if they want to do something bigger, something different, vacation 3 to 2 times a year, then possibly it might be good for her to go out and work. But still, that does not mean that she neglects her responsibility at home.
I need some.
It's like
I need some young women in here.
it's
I need
like
some young women to tell me how. Not the old school child. I hear Angela, old school. I need some young women because
you do know that there were and when I grew up, is again, I'm a church. I always say I'm a church boy. My life experiences have been in the church. The time I spent out in the street was optional. Yeah, I just wanted to go out there and just sneak out there and see how it looked. But there were women when I grew up, before so in the context of church, before their husbands' churches blew up and they became mega churches, there were women that had jobs, raised 9 kids, worked part-time. And then, of course, once their husbands' churches blew up and did whatever it did, those husbands went back and took their wives off that job. But again, a woman should always be there to be the ultimate support foundation, your ultimate support foundation. The man lays the foundation and the woman becomes that ultimate support foundation.
the man lays the foundation and the woman is a support foundation.
And Angela says she agreed with Bishop. Thank you, Angela. I got to send you an offering wherever you are. Yes, the man lays the foundation, because again, I've seen so many of those stories. People, again, in my context of church, people look at the major church pastor or the mega church pastor that's doing well, that's well established, but they don't know what him and his wife had to sacrifice through. While he was working that little job, she was working a job, but yet she didn't neglect going home, raising the kids, making sure the kids was good. And then when the appropriate time came, he took her off that job. But she couldn't just look at her husband and say, no, I ain't gonna do this. You know.
But see, what you just said is a plan of action that she eventually was able to see, and that's different. That's different being with a strong man, and we're saying someone is the goal is to eventually take you off of that job. But some people that's not going to be their story. Their story is going to be for the eternity of them working. They both going to get old. They both going to have to work until they retire and all that. Like it's so let's give it in this example. So my example that I want to set is, let's say, for example, I'm the breadwinner. Let's say I'm the breadwinner, and we have a 2, 3, and 4, and 5-year-old, however many.
What constitutes a breadwinner? Because I think with these cultural terms, what constitutes the breadwinner? Are you saying you're making more money than the man?
Yeah, you're making more money than him, and it's more sufficient. It makes more sense for him to stay home with the kids. So let's say we have 4 kids, and it's gonna cost us $1,500 a week to send these kids to school. I'm not over exaggerating. It costs about $300 per child. So if we have to decide, and I had a doctor, she did this. I think I said that before. She was a doctor, and between her and her husband, I think he was a manager. So at first he was a breadwinner, but she finished school. She ended up becoming a doctor. He stayed home with the kids, and he didn't take her manhood. They were just as happy as can be. It worked for them. He stayed home with the kids because they had little ones. And so if we're going to pay $1,500 a week, and that's surpassing my income, he was the one that stayed home with the kids.
Yeah, well, that's a POA. That's a plan of action.
Right.
But even with that, I would have still expected him. Now, this is me, not her. This is me as a brother. I would have still expected him to be sharpening his skills of either going to school virtually, doing something, starting a business, doing something still from home, because I do think that a man should have some levels and streams of income that is coming in.
True.
You seem very lost in this conversation. You like true. Yes,
I mean, because I think we're not on the same page. So I definitely feel like I'm not agreeing. But it's not that you're wrong or I'm wrong. I'm just not agreeing. And we got Angela that she old school, so she said she gonna cause she cut the grass, cook and clean. Baby, you really was doing too much. You out there cutting the grass. See, but let me tell you that also has issues, because she's still functioning in her masculine energy. Why she cutting the grass? See, some women overdo it. They gonna cook, clean, and take out the trash. Now you stepping all the way on the other side. Like,
well, now that's I mean that within itself is different, But say, for instance, hypothetically, what if her husband was away for a month? Either he can hire somebody to come and do it, but then who's gonna do it? So there are some women that'll be like, all right, I'll do it. I get it done. But I would suggest the husband maybe hire somebody to do it.
Now I'm fine with
And
him.
then comes the problem of the pool boy.
Exactly.
So then there comes a whole nother problem.
See, and then also the problem becomes then women are functioning in their masculine energy, and then the man is wondering why they talking to him that same way. They didn't fussed at everybody at work. They didn't told everybody what to do at work. Now they came home, they cooking, they cleaning, they mowing the lawn, and now he wondering why she trying to boss him around and tell him what to do. Because she's functioning in her masculine energy because she had to function like that to survive. So I think.
But why is it called her masculine energy?
Well,
Are
that's
these are you are these see, these are the tags that society gives. And so because then somebody could say that man that's domesticated, that's standing at home with those kids and cooking and cleaning, is functioning in his feminine energy. And that just don't even sound right. That don't even sound right.
Now, some men do be functioning they feminine energy when they be whining and complaining. I've been around some men, they be whining and crying more than women do. I be looking at them like, what you crying for? What you whining and complaining about? Some of the roles have gotten misconstrued and flipped up and turned around. And it goes back to, and I'm coming from a woman's perspective looking at men, but some of these men whining and complaining now. They ain't been around these men to be able to harden them up and hardcore them and tell them, because they've been watching their mamas complain and been around their sisters, so they complaining and crying too. They complain and cry more than the women cry. Some of them.
So, okay, you don't agree with the answer of the question. Should a man want his wife to be like his mama?
No, I don't agree with that. I don't
You
agree.
don't,
I don't agree that.
You don't agree with no area of that. But you agree with a sane family, sane again, not insane, sane family, and the father is strong. The father has never beat the mother. The father's never cussed out the mother, never threw the mother out, been respectful. You agree with the father being able to tell his daughter, you look for a man like me.
But see, that
you agree with, but then you don't agree with the other way around.
No, but listen to that phrase you said. You said the man told his daughter to look for a man like me. He didn't say go out there and make a man me. He said look for the man that's like me. So the man should do the same thing. You can look for the woman that's like your mother. That's okay. But don't come over here to a woman trying to make her look up to your mother or trying to make her become your mother. Find the woman that reminds you of your mother, so that you're not trying to change and expect this woman to measure up to the things your mother's doing.
But how about untapped potential? Everybody's been a mess. So what if you do meet a woman who is a half mess, and you be like, you know what, I don't want to give up on her. I want to work with her. So, but I know my mother could help her. Vice versa. If that girl goes to her dad and begs, Dad, please, will you let him take my hand in marriage? Will you give the blessing? I see the potential, because what if the father is saying, no, this dude ain't, this ain't it. And I'm not talking about in the 40s and 30s. I'm talking about in the 20s, and the father takes a chance on the guy and does build that guy to become a strong man, hires him, has him working within his company. Now, again, that can go good or go bad, but let's talk about if it goes good, and years later, he looked back and was like, wow, if you would not have ever introduced me to your father, I would not be half of the man that I am right now. And so is it a bad thing, not only just to look, but even to mentor and to show and to say, I want this woman, but she can't cook. I want this woman, but she halfway saved. I want this woman. She ain't submissive, but maybe if I can park her at my mama house or connect her with my mother can show her submission. My mother can show her what kept our family together.
If that woman wants that, if she's teachable and she's workable and she wants to become, but I'm saying don't put that upon her, because some of these people get together and they don't even like the mother-in-law. So you definitely can't make her follow the mother-in-law. That has to be a genuine relationship, and a relationship where she's looking up and she wants that. She wants that. So, that's my thing. And so my next question for you is, like it says, trauma from parents, and that's what we were kind of going leading with. When does it get to a place that you can no longer blame the trauma on your parents?
My wife and I, we was watching this weekend a great series on Netflix, Mr. McMahon, dealing with Vince McMahon, the former owner of WWE. And something that I did not know on there, he was talking, he says he didn't meet his real father, Vince Sr., until he was almost a teenager. He talked about when he went up to his real father, he was running to his father with his arms open out, and his father, when he finally got to his father tapped him on the shoulder, said, "All right, Sonny, all right, boy." And he says there was no affection, so the question has become, and even dealing with the Mr. McMahon series, Netflix series, which is very good. Who he is today, was some of that formed because of the abuse he went through with his stepfather. And then he also said his mother didn't even tell him who his real father was until he became almost a teenager. Mm-hmm. So who he became today, abrasive, a lack of empathy, some would say, was that because of the trauma of what he went through with his parents? And then when does that end? I don't know when it ends. I guess it depends on the person. It depends on what was the trauma. I guess when we start again, we're dealing with a lot of cookie cut scenarios, but when we start diving into doing a deep dive, as they say, we have to then begin to take every scenario is different. Mm-hmm. What was the trauma? What was I guess it would depend, because one trauma, I got a whooping with an extension cord. It didn't cause me to become wacko crazy, start killing animals and all that kind of stuff. But, for somebody else, that might have been trauma. Mm-hmm. That might have been trauma when my grandmama would say, "Go get the switch, go break me a stick off the tree in front of the house and bring it to me," knowing that I was and if the stick wasn't big enough, she was saying, "If you bring me the wrong stick, I'm going to beat you double." Knowing that's trauma. That could technically be trauma, but I'm all right. I'm good. I promise you I'm good. But that could be somebody trauma sitting back like, man, I was not interrogated, but I whatever, I was beat or abused, and I had to go get the tool that I was abused with to bring it to and again, I know I'm laughing about it, but some people do have those trauma stories, and they say, well, the reason that I beat my kids, the reason that I beat my spouse, mm-hmm. is because of the trauma that I went through with my parents. I mean, you and I, again, we can talk about it. The whole Angela Brown says, "Oh, yes." We can talk about the whole Joe Jackson thing, allegedly. Mm-hmm. And somewhat not allegedly. I've only heard a couple of the siblings talk about it, but they said their father was really hard on them, mm-hmm. And allegedly the hardness that their father put on them, we all know allegedly that it affected Michael. Mm-hmm. That it affected Michael in his, in growing up and who he became. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I would have to throw it back at you. I guess it just really depends on what the trauma is.
I think that's good. I definitely think it does depend on what the trauma is. And I feel like it depends on the person. My trauma, I definitely feel like it molded me, because some people can take trauma and make it a bad thing. But I took my trauma and made it a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it definitely made me who I am today. So the things that I had to go through, the character that I had to build up, the toughness that I had to build up, it was because of my story. It was because of the things that I went through that helped me become who I am now. But I definitely feel like when you get to a place of maturity and spiritual growth, and that's why I always talk about God and I talk about the word, because I definitely feel like that spiritual maturity will help you see the right perspective in it. You know, it helps you see the perspective that needs to be seen, where you could say, man, that right there made me great. That right there made me who I am. That right there, I needed that. I needed to go through that. So now I'm able to do this. Now I'm able to, and I would take at first kind of take the negative thing, and I would harden myself to make myself tough, to make myself work and keep on going. You are a pain pusher. Yes. And I would take that. But now, as I'm getting older and wiser, instead of using that to be like, oh, I'm tough, I'm strong, now I'm saying, God, I want to be loving, I want to be kind, I want to be soft. I don't want to have this defensive wall upon everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be some kind of balance. So now that I'm in a spiritual place, in a spiritual maturity, now I'm seeking the balance of pushing forward and having resilience and strengthening and keep on going. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm looking at my children and I'm like, I love you, all is well, you know. So knowing how to find that balance, because some people allow their environment to always keep them in bondage or always keep them stuck in being tough and having this wall, this barrier up, and they blame it on, well, it's what I went through. So like, how long are we going to say that? You know,
I can tell you this from my experience. I can tell you one of the ways to get healed from trauma is respect. One of the ways to get healed from trauma is respect. And when people ask me, well, what do you mean by that? My biological father, he did not want his name on the birth certificate. He did not, for a second, he had denied that I was his. And but even within all of that, I have always given him respect. And I think that respect that I've given him was somewhat of a healing, that it never caused me to go, because for me the respect was, this is your father. No matter what he did to you, it doesn't change who he is to you. No matter what he did to you, no matter that he never paid child support, no matter that he denied me, he did not want his name to be on the birth certificate. And but there again, see, Chantel, it goes back into the whole narrative that we don't want to discuss a lot. It takes a community. So my grandparents raised me, and my grandparents always told me, you respect your elders. And so it did not give me that. We live in a very disrespectful time and in this culture. So then that opens up to more portals to more trauma. So because they told me that, I could never cuss my dad out. Yeah, I can tell you now, these days, I don't hear kids cussing their parents out, all types of stuff. I can never cuss my father out. I can never say, my dad, you're no good. If my grandfather would have heard me say something like that, my head would have went to the other side of the room. Yes. It kept me in that. So respect for me that I share was a healing. It healed even things that was undiagnosed, things that I didn't even know about. Yeah. Even when I got to 9th grade, and my mother would say, man, I wish you had a father that was a father, because it was Chantel. I could party. They'd be like, we're calling your parents. All right, call my father. His name is Marvin. And when I was skipping school, because I knew that my father he wasn't going to snap out. He was going to be like, okay, I'll tell his mother. I knew he wasn't going to tell my mother, but I've always respected him.
That's good.
So it did not call. And I think, again, disrespect can breed even greater levels of unforgiveness, and unforgiveness keeps trauma living. When something happens, when someone calls you trauma, again, you're not responsible for the trauma that they caused you, but you are responsible for your healing. Again, it's not your fault that they did it. It ain't my fault that my dad denied me. It ain't my fault my dad didn't want his name on my birth certificate. But it is my responsibility. And I think for me, again, the healing for me to hit that healed me of things that I might didn't even know that was on the inside of me was the level and the measure of respect, even to this day, that I have for my father. You know, and I'm 45 now, so he has to be well in his 60s. My mother don't ever want to admit how old she is, so they ain't too far apart from each other. But it's still yes sir, no sir.
Yes.
It's still so. When folks start talking about trauma in this day and time, now you talk about old school. I know some things that the old school folk did. Everything they did was not right. Everything was not good. Something they did out of ignorance, out of concern, out of care. But there's some lessons that we could learn from our elders, our fathers, that would I think that would get some of these. Sometime I'm counseling people, Chantel, or I'm counseling young men, and it's I don't have a father in the house. Why my mom and dad? Okay, I want to be like, and this is a podcast, so we can just be real. I want to be like, dude. I want to be like Ninja. I didn't have a father in the house for 18 years of my life, and it didn't make me do what it is that you're doing. It didn't make me. It didn't make me go haywire. It
Right.
didn't make me cuss my mama out. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there comes back again, Chantel, community. I
Yeah.
knew that my mother had brothers. My mother had, I had that if I would have crossed, well, first of all, I wouldn't even thought to cross that line because my mother would have knocked my head to the other side of the room. So again, I think when we start talking about trauma, we have to make sure that we're also not using trauma as an excuse.
Right. 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 That's good. And some people, and that's how I feel. Some people eventually, and that's why I said there has to be a age to cap out where there has to be an age to cap out where we're saying, okay, you can no longer use your trauma as an excuse. You can no longer use your parents as an excuse. You can no longer use the things that you went through in your past as an excuse. There has to be eventually a place where you acknowledge it, you recognize it, and you take the responsibility to get out of it. And I think that's so key. And for me, I don't know about people in the comments, but I think that was so important that you had the respect. And
Right.
my thing, my code of that I help young women get out of their situations is I would tell them, like I would mentor young women too. And they were like, well, my mom didn't do this or my dad didn't do this and they didn't do this. And they have all that grudgery in their heart. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think the first thing was respect. At the end of the day, it's your mom. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But my second thing was you're grown now. Some of them be 18, 19, and they're still expecting something. And I literally for ages, I would tell myself the same thing. Expect nothing but appreciate everything. I appreciate the efforts that our great grandmothers and our grandmothers put in. I respect the things that my mother went through and the struggles. And one of the kids was saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to go to school," and I had to take them all the way back to, man, do you understand that when they went to school, when they walked through those buildings, they were getting teased? Like, I let my kids understand the things that my mom had to go through just to walk, just to go to school, be teased and talked about. So the things that they went through, definitely they need respect. They've earned the respect. I hate to say it, they've earned the respect, but it goes back to expect nothing but appreciate everything. Don't expect people to show up the way you want them to show up. Don't expect people to do what you want them to do. And a lot of us have put expectations upon people that we didn't even agree to do. And that's in relationships, that's in, that's with companionship, that's in so many things that we're expecting people to show up a certain way. We're expecting people to look like this and look the part and do this, and you didn't do that, and now I'm mad at you. And so when I learned that, man, I put that expectation on that person that they didn't even know how to show up like that. How can I put that expectation on this person and want them to be this and want them to be holier than thou, when like as kids, how you're a kid, you just think like everybody is perfect, every adult is perfect. We just have this image like they can do no wrong, and when they finally do wrong, you think, oh my gosh, they're the worst person in the world because they did one thing. And you almost forget that you have to switch your mind and say, these people are not perfect. They're not perfect. They are humans just like us, and they fall short, they mess up, they will disappoint us. And it is what it is. I have the best relationship with my grandma. My grandmother's my best friend. People know my grandmother's my best friend. And I remember it was I mean, she had done so much for me growing up. She was there. And I remember it was one thing she didn't show up for. She disappointed me that one time. And it wasn't even that big, but for me, it was huge. And I literally had the nerve I was mad with her. And then I had to realize, like, how did you put an expectation on someone that you may not even be able to live up to. So I definitely feel like when we release some of these expectations and stop expecting people to show up the way that they may not even have the capacity to show up, we heal ourselves. Yes, my cousin Martell, my favorite grand auntie. Yes, my grandmother is the bomb. Like, she is amazing. But how can and I was young at the time, and I was like 18, but I felt like she was perfect for 18 years and she messed up. She didn't show up. But how dare I put that? And I had to learn that quickly, because I'm like, I'm gonna be mad at my grandmother that's my best friend, has been there for me, for one thing that she didn't show up for. So,
well, let me ask you this question, Chantel, because I want to, and I see Nicole is on today. My daughter has no respect for her father because he was never around. She cussed him out. Well, I know Nicole's not asking us our opinion, but again, I got major respect for my father. He was never around, and he never bought me maybe a couple of toys. Now, his mother tried to do things for me, my grandmother, but respect for me is major. And again, I would never cuss him out. I would never, man. Matter of fact, I don't know if I shared this with you, Chantel, but something that was so humbling. My wife and I, we had traveled to Milwaukee, Wisconsin some time ago, many years ago. And we were having, I shared it in the School of Prophets, but we were having a service, and my father, he came and kneeled before me, and he says, I want you to lay your hands. And my wife has that picture. She says, I want you to lay your hands on me. My flesh and blood. How could I not be so happy and so proud of you, of who you become? And I think all of that is in the narrative of the respect factor, that I never disrespected this man. I've never talked bad about him. I've never disparaged his name. You can't, again, it's major for me, one time in my mother's frustration for her to say, and many years ago, he didn't even want your name on the birth certificate. He denied you, but again, for me, I think the respect thing is big. This is what I was going to say also, Chantel. I don't think expectations is a bad thing. Now I want to get into our community, and you and I, we talked about this backstage when they were doing your makeup and you were in the powder room and stuff. One of the shirts I wore today is a shirt that says "I am Black Excellence." We talked about in the green room about our other counterparts and the other cultures. I don't think expectations is a bad thing, because all of my Caucasian friends and Asians and different nationalities, and you and I kind of we touched on this before about what our parents expect from us, especially if you're doing good. But I think we should expect things from our parents, especially at younger ages, because again, our other counterparts, they expect their parents to send them to school. They expect their parents to have a roof over their head. They expect. And it ain't changing. My wife and I, we were shoe shopping a couple of weeks ago, and Chantel, I wanted to go off for the white man. I lied not. I'm sorry, the Caucasian guy. The little kid was in the shoe store just running amok, and he was like, "No, I want those shoes and those shoes, and if you don't get them for me," and so the dad comes over there. He's like, "You have 3 seconds. All devices are getting ready to leave you." Still doesn't stop. And this is verbatim. You have 3 seconds. All devices are getting ready to leave you. I'm like, all devices? If you don't knock this kid into the other side of this shoe store. So the kid's still just snapping off. Here comes the mom. Stop. Your dad told you to stop. Here comes the dad again. Okay, you know what? You're going downstairs. I don't know if downstairs is like the basement. Now I'm starting to think like they torture the kids. But he's like, you're going to go downstairs by yourself and you're going to have time out. The kid was like, I don't care. But it was just the level of expectation, some entitlement, but they expect, I think in our culture, in our community, you know, sometimes we don't expect, you know, we should expect our parents, and there should be a level of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've worked hard being a father to make sure that when Devin turned 18 and graduated from school, that we were able to send him to college. I see within our community, sometime within our culture, it's like the bar is dropped and the level of expectation is no longer there.
But I feel like we build that resilience. That's how we get by, because you're talking about two different environments and two different cultures. You know, they can expect their parent that they acting up, and the parent ain't gonna knock them out in the middle of the store. We can expect, if we acting up in our culture, that we act out in the store, we gonna get knocked out in the store. Okay, so your expectations definitely it helps.
But even the financial expectations, that there should be a level that kids expect for their parents to do for them.
But how if that parent doesn't? That's like you expecting your dad to show up, but he doesn't have the capacity to show up the way you want him to show up. Who's going to be frustrated, him or you? If he
So
can't show up,
don't we have to change the narrative of that then?
but
Just
how
because it always has been doesn't mean that it's right.
we change it within our community, we change it within our generation. As we grow, we do differently for our children, but we still can't expect. That's just like someone growing up right
Not now, I'm saying going forward.
Even
like
going forward. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say going forward, I told you I mentor a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say someone's mother is just not in that place. She can't expect her mom to show up, because her mom is not going to show up the way she needs her to show up. So,
but maybe if we put that expectation on that mother, I would hope. Again, that's a hope. Maybe if that expectation is put on that mother, that you have somebody that's depending on you.
I see where you're going. I mean, I completely understand where you're going, but I mean, I'm the person saying you become better so that you can do better, but at the same time, I'm still the person to help you cope with what you might be going through. Saying you don't have to expect that out of that person. You still be respectful. You still go and grow. And your situation, you could change your own situation. So I had a young lady that I knew, she was actually my mentor. She passed, but she was an amazing woman. And she had literally a horrible, oh my gosh, it was a horrible, childhood. The mom talked her any kind of way, did her wrong, whatever the case may be. But later on, and her mom was still young, where her mom ended up having a stroke and couldn't talk. And she ended up becoming successful. She ended up having to take care of her mom. But I felt like she was able to be in that place because of what you said. She respected her mom. And she still was able, even though she didn't expect anything out of her mom, she was the one that ended up giving. You know what I'm saying? She was ended up giving, but she didn't expect anything from her mom, but she was still blessed on the other end. So we don't have to expect this person to show up the way we need them to show up. We just have to do what's becoming. We have to do what's right. And God will, he's going to see us through, and we still going to be blessed. And I feel like because a lot of us are respectful, we do receive the blessing. We do receive the breakthrough. We do have favor in our lives, and that's just my way of thinking, that some of us that went through a hard life came out on a good end.
Again, I'm just at that lowering the expectations. When do we, and I hear you about the expect, but when do we say, all right, I have no expectations for a person? Or should there always be some level of
Definitely. I mean, I get where you're going with it. As a community, if we can all expect mothers to show up like they're supposed to show up, or fathers show up, or fathers show up like they're supposed to show up, if they begin to feel the weight from the culture, from the community, you're saying maybe they'll show up?
Maybe they'll show up. I mean, even the government expects it, because that's why they have child support. That's a level of expectation. All right, you're not going to be with this woman, but we expect you to take care of this kid that you have had. And I don't think that that's right, because child support shouldn't be looked at as a punishment. A man should just want to take care of his kids, period.
Right.
But because they don't, the government steps in and says, oh no, we got some expectation for you, buddy. Come on over here. We're getting ready to take this on up out your check. So we can never, I don't know if we can ever not have expect. Now they might not get mad, but we can. They might not get mad, but we cannot.
Okay, maybe that.
How can
Maybe,
we get?
yeah.
You know, how can we get to that point where there is no expectation?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I get it. I get where you're coming from, and if we as a community expect, more from people, but what about the people with mental illness? A lot of people don't show up. It's not because they don't want to. It may be a mental illness. It may be drugs. It may be alcohol. Like they're not showing up.
Have you mentored some of this generation? Some of them are showing up because they depressed, they frustrated, they mad.
Oh,
I was watching a church meme again, and it's not my total world, but it's a big part of my world. I'm engaged in corporate world and outside of church, but this church meme was very funny, Chantel, because the pastor got up, and it was so hilarious. The pastor got up. It was it was one of those memes that says, "What happens on youth night?" And
right.
the guest preacher comes in. So, it's a skit. Guest preacher comes in, crosses his leg, and they said, youth guest preacher. And they going through this whole thing. So the guest youth preacher gets up. Mind you, this is a youth service. And he says, you right there that's dealing with depression. Matter of fact, all 20 of y'all that's dealing with depression. So what they're saying in this skit is that this generation is just overly depressed, discouraged, frustrated, somewhat because of the spirit of entitlement, somewhat because of things. Listen, if I couldn't get a pair of Jordans when I was growing up, I did not get depressed. My mama
expect it because you did not expect it.
Well, no, because
these children expect it. These children expect you to get them what they want. We did not expect that.
And so it drives them to this place of, so in this whole situation, everything he was calling out was depression, discouragement. It's just trying to. So when we talk about this generation, all of it is not mental illness.
Yeah, it's them. They're entitled, and they expecting that they supposed to get what they don't supposed to get. They're expecting to get what they want. So yeah.
But we cannot lower the expectations on them either.
Okay, I get you.
But somewhere in there, you don't agree. Let me see what some of these comments are saying. Somewhere in there, you don't agree.
I want to make sure that we pray for Calethea Johnson. I seen her on here. Send prayers to Augusta, Georgia area, please and thank you. Yes, we pray over Calethea. I know she's in Augusta, Georgia, and their power was still out. So we definitely send our prayers over you guys and your family, that provision and your power be restored, and that God is sending help and sending relief and sending blessings and everything that you guys need, in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, amen. Miss English is on her lunch break. Hey, Shannon English, she's on her lunch break. Hey, I see you, girl. Hey.
Hello, Shannon English. Rachel, hello. Says my grandparents also raised me, Archbishop Devin Owens, same here. All right. Prophetess Nadine Owens, my wife, the lens of trauma has multiple views. Absolutely. Prophetess Nicole Ferguson, my daughter has no respect. Okay. All right. I see some of the comments. So you're leaving it saying lower expectations.
Yeah, I'm leaving it at nope. I'm leaving it at respect is so important. And two, yes, lower your expectations. I'm leaving it at respect. Even with Nicole, I want you just kind of tapped on her comment, but I don't have a father, and my kids didn't have a father. No, it was one where she commented about her daughter. Her daughter cusses out her father. Did she say that?
It's just make sure you say it right, because I don't want Nicole to send a letter to me. She says, my daughter has no respect for her father because he was never around. She cussed him out.
I still feel like it goes back to teaching our children how to respect. And as a mother, I hold the father of my child highly in my children's eyes, so that they my mom did an amazing job with that. My mom never downplay my father. Um, she never talked bad about him. Now I know she felt some kind of way, but she never would voice it. I mean, and I was one of them kids. Well, I'm gonna call my daddy. I want to go with my daddy, and she just be looking at me like, "Child, call him." That's how I call him, child. See if he gonna answer. But she never put him on child support. Not saying it's right. She probably should have. We probably would have had more resources, but she never put him on child support. But I learned something from that, because when I was finally old enough to see what she never said, I understood the importance of respecting fatherhood and respecting the man. And but I respected her more because she never said what she could have said. And I think that was big. And so I feel like it's important as mothers that we always respect the children's father, because this is it, we chose them. We chose them, and they may not came out the way we wanted them to come out, but we chose them as the father of our children. So I always hold them high, so that my children will always have respect. And when they find out otherwise, then it's on them. Does that make sense? When they find out,
Makes perfect
when
sense.
they find out, but it's not for me to bash or badmouth. I'm always lifting their because I never want my children to view men because we don't understand the damage that we do when we disrespect the man that we chose. We don't understand the damage that we play in that aspect. So I definitely feel like it's so important that we hold them, high in our children's eyes until they can see otherwise. And then they'll look at us like, my mama didn't say what she really wanted to say. So I definitely think, trying to help her, because when she's cussing him out, I don't think it's about respect. I feel like it's about hurt. She's hurt. That's coming from a place of, sometimes we don't know how to respond. Anger comes from, normally, not always, but it's emotions, and it comes from a place of fear. Anytime I get angry, I know it's coming from some kind of fear, some kind of place that I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here. When you recognize where the anger is coming from, normally it's something up under that. It's not just the anger. So I feel like she's not cussing him out just to cuss him out. She's cussing him out because she's hurt, because she expected something out of him that he couldn't do. Goes back to my expectation.
But again, is it wrong for her to have expected something out of him?
Yes, because it's hurting her. You understand what I'm saying? Expectations are cool. Like, yes, she should expect her father to show up like he's supposed to show up. But when he does not show up that way, the way that she heals is when you take that expectation off of him, you get your power back. Because if I'm expecting you to do something that you can't do, the only person mad is me. You like, well, I ain't doing it because I don't want to do it because that ain't what it is. And you walk away okay, but I'm mad because I'm still expecting you to show up the way that you haven't showed up, and you ain't gonna show up.
But it's almost equivalent to God. God never, unless He turns us over to, or individuals over to a reprobate mind. But God never removes expectation. It's always there for us to meet, and even that one day, hopefully, we will meet it.
God is different. God loves us unconditionally, no matter what. He will never take his love off of us. So yes, he can expect that and still not, not like you say, he gives us a reprimand, but he's still going to love us no matter what.
Should a child not expect their parents or them to show up? I see what you're saying. You're saying lower the bar or remove the level. But in order for me to remove that would be me then removing the responsibility of what that person is. I never removed the responsibility of my father being my father. I never removed the responsibility of, now again, I kind of shifted the responsibility because we became more so friends by the time I got to ninth grade, and I knew I could skip school. And if they say we call it your parents, I'm like, 264-9835, call them. That's my dad number. I knew on the other end, he's going to be like, all right, we're going to make sure your mom don't find out about this, but you should probably do better. But my thing is, I still had expectations of my father. I didn't expect him to come pick me up from high school. I didn't expect him to do X, Y, Z, but I still had expectations. In some type of way, I was able to compartmentalize it to make it work.
So you still removed expectations.
I didn't remove expectations. I shifted them.
Okay, so you shifted them.
I shifted it.
Okay.
Remember, I shifted to when I got in trouble at school, I knew they could call him. I shifted it to I could talk to him about women. That he was great at that. Any woman problem I was having, so much so, lie not. I had multiple of my friends like, hey man, can I talk to your dad? He one of the coolest cats ever. So
you still shifted it where he was more of a friend. You no longer shifted his expectations as a parent. That sounds like my homie, my scapegoat.
Well, no, but he was to my father at the end of the day. Now,
Yeah,
what
the expectations on him any longer?
Sure I did. That he was going to be there. Now, the capacity that I needed him to be there in, and now, again, you're talking about me in ninth grade, so now I'm 14, 15, so I'm growing anyhow, so I don't need him to pick me up and teach me how to ride my bike. That my grandfather did that. I don't need the training wheels anymore.
Right.
Someone says, how can it get better? And every family has so many different situations, upbringing. Absolutely. Well, that's why we said there's no cookie cutting thing. But my thing, Chantel, is I shifted my need, but I didn't shift I didn't change having expectations for him.
I did. So Miss Farley, I feel like the way it can get better. Archway is to shift the expectations. Mine was just to relinquish the expectations. I still and walk with it with respect. My father as well. My father to me, I feel like I still feel like he's an amazing man. Mm-hmm. My father has a problem. He has an addiction to drugs. But I love him as a father. I still love him. I feel that he loves me unconditional. He just cannot love me the way that I needed him to love me to be consistent as a father. He still can call my phone to this day. And when he calls, I still will say, hey, what we doing? You know what I'm saying? You calling because you need something, you calling because you want to talk. And I set a standard and a boundary, and he will laugh about it. He said, hey, this time I'm calling because I just want to talk. You know what I'm saying? But I had to create a boundary and a standard for him. But I still think he's an amazing man. I just know that he had an issue that he couldn't overcome. But him as a person, oh man, he was the best. I thought my dad was the best person in the world, but I couldn't put an expectation for him to show up the way I needed him to show up. So it's almost saying the same thing you did. You shifted.
But I didn't shift expectation. I still had expectations. Perhaps I shifted capacity expectations.
Okay, we can say that. Okay.
It's just like a woman who looks at a man and says, you don't have the capacity to give me this, but I'm not going to divorce you or leave you. I just know that you don't have the capacity to walk around the mall with me. You don't have the capacity to, the 5 love languages and all that. So that's not within your capacity. But I'm not going to shift my expectations on you being my wife or my husband. And so the same thing is with the parent. I can't shift my parent being my parent. Always have to respect them. But now maybe, again, I understand their capacity. My father, again, my mother is on too, Pastor Catherine's on. Again, whom I respected and I respected and loved my biological father. Again, although denied me, didn't want his name on the birth certificate, all that, but it never shifted my levels of respect.
Right.
It never shifted him from being, I can't change who he is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We just saying it differently. I respect him. He's still my father. I'm just not expecting him to show up in the way that he does not have the capacity to show up.
But we should, because guess what? Why does it take the government to bring it? Because the bottom line of child support is provision. What do men do? Men take care of their offspring, their seed. The bottom line of child support is provision, to take care of what you have helped birth into the world. So then, therefore, if the government is not shifting their expectation, why would I shift my expectation? Why should the community shift their expectation?
Because it's still not helping. Just like Miss Farley just said, what helps us? Because even if you have the expectation for them to show up, even when the government is placing them on child support, some of them end up going to jail because they're on child support and they don't pay it.
But guess what? They would not go to jail if there was no level of expectation. Expectation brings consequence.
Right. So, but that's different. But I'm talking about in order for you to move forward. So the consequences there. But even and I'll go give my mom an example. I pray that she's okay with me using her example. She never put my dad on child support because she said, "What good was it gonna do for him to sit in jail?" You got what I'm saying? Like if he didn't pay the child support, he at least we got a little chance that if he out, he may get a little change. You know what I'm saying? To help. But if he in jail and he's in the system, and my thing is, why do I have to have the government tell you how to raise your child? I don't want your help then. If I have to put you on child support and the government have to tell you to take care of your child, I don't see the point in it.
Again, listen. Well, I feel different about that, and I see my mother saying I agree. The reason I feel different about it is because there are some lazy, indolent, disrespectful men that have no understanding of responsibility, and they in and out getting women pregnant, and there should be, again, expectation brings consequence. So the expectation of, if you're going to do this, then the consequence is you're going to have to take care of what it is, or the responsibility. Now, I'm a man, so I'm speaking from that man perspective. That yeah, a man should pay child support.
But my thing is, why can't we put the expectation on a woman that you knew you seen that red flag, so you expected him to take care of your child when you knew he had maybe 3, 4 other children that he wasn't taking care of? I'm just saying, we putting
that's
on
a whole nother right.
Your mama got a hand up. Let's see what mama want. Mama says she got a hand up.
My hand is up. She says every family deals with different dynamics, but at the end of the day, it's meeting each other respectfully at the need. Rachel says no excuses. Rachel says the help is for the children. Men should take care of their children. Absolutely. I 100% believe in it. Men should take care of their children. And love is blind, Chantel. Women, my daughter, if I had a daughter, my daughter, although she makes the wrong mistake and gets with that guy, and even if he didn't have children, but he just treated her wrong, abused her, beat her, XYZ, and she was in love with him, and it didn't work. His responsibility is to take care of that child or those children. Now, again, it shouldn't have to come down to the government getting involved, but if the government needs to get involved, then it should. Catherine says, who are we okay, that's my mother. Who are we to judge? Some men do have the capacity to take care of themselves.
Do not have the capacity. She's on the same page I'm on. Thank you.
Some men do not have the capacity.
Do not have the capacity to take care of themselves.
And the question is why?
But
outside of mental illness, the question becomes why.
Well, when does it become our fault? And I'm speaking of a mother that didn't choose correctly either. But when does it become our responsibility and our fault too? When do we take a look at ourselves and say, okay, you've seen this. Why did you get in the same boat and you've done this over and over and over again?
But that's going to bring our broadcast into something different, and maybe a few stones will be thrown at me on the podcast. But because women, because women are emotional.
We are, but I like what Billiqua said. I was able to thank God to take care of my children. They have to be accountable for what they don't do. But she said I was able to thank God to take care of my children. And that's how I looked at it. I chose the way I chose. And if it did not come out favorable, I mean, I have great children, and the father of my child is great. But the way I chose, I remember one day I was young. And I remember saying, I will never, ever beg a man to take care of my children. And I remember taking a responsibility and saying, God, this is how I chose. This is what I did. And I remember saying, God, I put this responsibility on you. And after that point, I never had to beg or ask anybody for anything.
I understand. But my thing is lowering the expectation. Just because a person don't do something don't mean that we should lower
the expectation.
And again, and hats off to all of the women who have had to take care of their children. But again, they shouldn't have to only or solely take care of those children. When my wife says children are birthed from an egg and All right, some big word. Nurse Nadine is showing off. My wife. All right, I don't know what that word is, honey, but both equally
Tomato.
responsible since they both equally donated to the creation of the child. Absolutely, wife. Absolutely.
And
Both.
Martell said the same thing. He's my cousin, and I'm gonna have to say my little cousin. He's married. He's an amazing father. He takes care of his responsibility. So coming from a man that everyone has to be held accountable, and he had an amazing father himself. So he had an example that you were talking about earlier. But we're talking about good scenarios, good examples that happen. I'm sorry, but they just don't always.
But but the good, we should use the good over the bad.
Definitely, we should set an example.
I understand what the majority is and the minority is. The minority might not be all of those good fathers and situations, but we should not let the majority speak to the minority. We should let the minority speak to the majority.
But how about we say that we're setting great examples as opposed to the expectations? Because I feel like if we focus on setting great examples and our community of men gather together to set an example, because we have some amazing households that have amazing fathers that are taking care of their children. And if we can amplify that, I'm not talking about the expectations. I mean, I get what you're saying about the expectations, but if we can uphold the example, setting more great examples in our community, then I feel like that will go longer. That will go much farther. But some of our children in the generation are their role models are the rappers is lying. Their role models are the people saying do this and don't be at the homes and talk bad about this person and go don't lead that woman because she ain't nothing, or you have podcasts that's creating that dysfunction that the men they going after the women and the women going after the men and they don't like each other and they creating the confusion, as opposed to setting an example that we are coming together. And we're here to help each other. And we, even on this podcast, we have a podcast that if y'all seen, I told Arts respectfully that I may not agree, but see, when you have a healthy relationship, you can agree to disagree and still have a healthy conversation without feeling offended or looking like you made me mad because you didn't agree with what I said. And we have to set the example in our community to show more of this and show more men rising up to the occasion, show more men such as yourself that was able to co-parent with your son's mother and raise them. I think you said they came to you in high school, and raise them. My son was off with his father. He's an amazing guy. He was off with his father for the whole summer. So some of us are co-parenting and showing that example, but I'm just saying on the other standard, how we can help some of the women that are frustrated and mad, stop expecting this person to do this, but yet you're putting yourself in the same situation. And so that's why I'm saying some women have to take the accountability. And that's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I get, no, I understand what you're saying, but I got to be like Prophetess Nicole last week. No, mine came to me at 9 and 10. I raised them through high school.
Oh, my bad. Okay, got it.
Okay. Like Prophetess Nicole said, I did not say mine came to me at 9 and 10. And I raised them through high school from 9 to 10. I like Martell. He says they have responsibility. The Prophetess Evelyn says, but we as women, when we accept certain things in our life pertaining to getting involved with the wrong man, is because of things we are lacking as a child and things we saw growing up as children. Wow. Prophetess Nadine says it's all stems back to your previous discussion on personal trauma. It leads into how one picks their spouse or mate. They're lining the comments up on today. Absolutely. Personal trauma can cause you to pick the wrong mate.
Yes.
And come into the wrong relationship.
Definitely.
Any expounded on that? Prophetess Evelyn and my wife Nadine says they're saying it's a lack of something in a woman.
I mean, that was good. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I still kind of said that. Like, when does it become for the woman to take accountability too? So, I mean, they are definitely on point. I completely.
But let me say this from a man. Perspective. You all are talking from a women perspective. Let me say this from a man.
Another man. Because this is another example. See, that's what I'm talking about. Our men are rising up. I want people to see the example. Harvey Johnson, Amazing father. I had his child. I had the honor. His wife is Kalithia. I think she was on here earlier too. But they show an example of the Black family, and not saying we don't go through our stuff, but he's definitely an amazing father. Showed up, picked up his child from the centers almost every other day, and
Wow.
and you know,
Salute,
I honor
brother.
that. When I see the men coming in and they picking up their children, I'm like, yes, hey, Dad, we love to see y'all come in here. Set the example. Set the example. So
salute to that, brother. Salute,
yes.
salute. I wanted to say this from a man perspective. Just I don't want, and let me just speak to the sisters. Everything is not because remember we talked about trauma. Your trauma is not your responsibility, but your healing is. Everything that happens to a sister is not because there's something broken in her. Sometimes there are just some bad apples, some bad men that take advantage and that are wolves in sheep clothing. And so I don't want every sister who ended up with a bad situation to think that it was something missing or broken in you, because sometimes it's something broken in him that causes him to treat a good thing like a bad thing and even mess over something that is good. So again, I don't want just the sisters to have to bear the sole responsibility of a gentleman that was not who he should have been and treated you who you are. And so I just wanted to say that because I seen some of the sisters say, again, yes, sometimes trauma can cause a person to pick the wrong person. But I also want to say again that sometimes the brothers can deliberately, we talked about that. Those couch anointing brothers moving in on those sisters' couches and taking being the sisters being vulnerable and taking them for so on and so forth. So again, sisters, I just wanted to say that every sister, again, it's not your fault. Let me say that from a brother. Every woman, it's not your fault. You didn't deserve it. You are not broken.
Amen.
There is nothing wrong with you. Sometime you just met a man that did not know your value, did not understand who you are. And again, he misused and mishandled you, and it caused things to end up the way that it caused things to end up. So I want to say that.
All right, Arch. Amen. That's a good old statement right there. Praise the Lord. We are almost coming to a close. I had one more, and we'll leave them on this note. We'll pick up on it, Arch. So you let me know how you feel. But we were talking earlier, and we talked about it backstage as well. And we were talking earlier about just, the 50-50 or the 150 or however the woman plays the role. But do you think in this time that there has been a swap with the women and having them feel that they're superior over the man because they may bring in more money? Do you feel like that has changed within our times? I know it's not right, but do you feel that because women, they used to be at a place where they didn't have the opportunity to make as much, and now they can make more in the household? Do you think there's a change with how the things go?
Listen, I believe every king is supposed to take care of the queen. I believe every king is supposed to take care of the queen. I understand the society that we're living in now, and that it is a society that encourages minorities. It encourages women to have equal opportunities to go after their dreams. I get that. But the dynamics of the way that God created family to be was for the man to take care of the woman. I still ultimately believe in that. I do believe that it does cause some conflict sometime. And again, I'm a strong man. My wife is a strong woman. We're two very purpose-driven people. But I do think that sometimes the way that society has painted the two against each other almost, there's somewhat of an agenda of conflict there too. And it does cause the man to become emasculated. Not that he can sometimes even be feeling insecure, but sometimes it's the way society pitches this thing. Oh, she makes more money than you, so she's over. She's bossing you now. And even if that would be the case, I think a humble woman and a wise woman should always know her place. And if she did make more money than her spouse or make more money than her significant other, it would not be for her to use that as an advantage to say, I'm doing this and you're not doing it. So but I do think foundationally the man should work to take care of his queen, of his wife. And then again, if they have different type of aspirations, like I told you at the beginning of the broadcast, someone says teach preacher, my grandfather's word. If they have different aspirations where again they want to hit Paris 2 times a year, they want to hit Europe, then those are different conversations. Then you might have to come to the table and say, hey baby, listen, let me go out and use my degree so we can do this thing called Paris and London 2 times a year and XYZ. But every woman and every couple, that's not their aspirations, and nor should it be. Some folk just want, some folk family vacation is Florida, is Alabama. Some folk family vacation is go to Chicago, and that's cool. But again, that goes into the aspirations of that couple. But I don't think that sometimes the way that I see society pitching it against each other, I'm a boss woman, and so I know who I am, and I ain't gonna be told what to do. I think all of those narratives and spinning all that type of stuff, that's not the way God wanted it to be. God wanted the man to take care of the woman.
Amen. Amen. Well, aren't you close us out with a great old conclusion? And I mean, I'm good. I hope you
Are
guys.
you saying you don't agree with that when you said I'm good? Are you really wrong?
Oh no, I really think that was a great closing. I definitely think society has taken a spin, and it should be the foundation. Definitely should we hold our men to a high respect, a high regard, a high regard.
Say the word. A higher
a higher respect. Keep them at a higher
expectation.
It's all right to say our men. I have a high. If you guys know me, I talk about our men. I respect them. I have a high respect. Maybe I'm gonna pray about that one, Arch. I'm gonna pray about having expectation. You know what? You've persuaded me into saying that I'm gonna have a higher
expectation for men. And look at Rachel say extra. Again, I have it for my sons.
Right.
I have it for my sons. I have it even that, hey, yo, I'm smart, y'all, and I'm brilliant. And my wife, prophetess lady, and I don't even know if she on. Sometimes she be going up under the pew when I be telling my truth. This is living your truth. Chantel, I don't even know if I ever got over a 2 point. I come from 1.2 point, 1.5. High school was tough for me. But again, I have higher expectations. And my son, Devin, he met it. My son, Devin, was a 4-point student, literally straight A's.
Yes.
Dad never first of all, I skipped school all the time, got kicked out of school. I don't know what a 2 point is. A 2 point what? Now, maybe when I was trying to date back in the days and the girl be like, hey, well, what's your GPA? I'm like, oh, I'm at a 2.5 or 2.7, almost a 3 point. Now, some of them knew I was lying. And I don't even know if that's the grading scale anymore, but you would have to know a 1 point anything. It's like straight D's and almost F's, not going to school. But my expectation for my son who went to college was, hey, man, you got to be about this book life. And if I didn't have those expectations, I don't know my expectations for Caleb as he's getting ready to graduate high school. So I have high expectations, and for me not to have them lowers the bar, lowers the standard for me.
But you've created the environment for that he can strive or thrive in the environment, and with the expectations, he still had the capacity. Even if it took you stretching his capacity, he had the capacity to withstand the expectation that you was putting upon him. I'm just, but I get where you're coming from, but I still feel like he was given that foundation to thrive in the expectation.
Are you going to tell your daughter to put expectations on a brother?
Yes, but I'm putting her in an environment now that I'm teaching her what to look for. All I knew growing up is just get married. It wasn't how he looked, what he looked like, what it was, just get married. You know, so you saved, go get married, get married. I didn't know how it was to have a healthy relationship and all that great stuff. So I don't know. I pray everybody got something from here. My conclusion is trauma eventually should get to a place where it expires, where you begin to take accountability. Art says put expectations. Me, I just say put expectations based on the capacity of that person. And the most thing is respect. I definitely think we all need to walk away with respecting, not based on who people are. I'm going to respect the janitor. I'm going to respect the janitor as though they were the owner. You know, and respect goes a long way. And so if we respect everybody, I definitely feel like we come out further. So that's my conclusion, you guys.
All right. Please tell these folk to go where to go to follow us on YouTube, because what happened last week didn't translate to what we asked.
You guys, please go to our YouTube page. It is Kingdom Global Media. It is in the feed. If you scroll up, we have dropped it in the feed, the YouTube feed. Go subscribe to that channel. Next week, we want you guys to meet us there. Our topics are getting just more in depth as we go along. This was just a little pilot, a little tester to see where we were. But you guys, go subscribe to Kingdom Global Media. Again, if you scroll up, it is in our feed. Go there. We will put it. We will post it on our YouTube Spaces as well. You
Harvey
guys,
says doing it right now. Salute, brother. Thank you so much.
thank you. I appreciate that. Amen. 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 Doing it now. Yeah. And Miss Summerlin, I love this. Teamwork makes the dream work. Amen. That's what we're trying to do. Come together as a community, set the example that we can have healthy conversations and don't always have to agree. I'm working on the agreeing with the expectations. I'm working on it, Arch. I'm working on it.
I understand. Well, we'll see you all next week at the 1 o'clock. That's it. That's all I got.
Bye, you guys.